Thanks, Michael. Hi, Paul. Good to see you. CONCACAF announced about an hour ago that VAR is going to be implemented for the final two qualifying windows. You seem like a good guy to ask. There was a couple calls that went against you in that Jamaica game, or the fouls that you suffered in that Jamaica game in October, where guys might have got sent off if there was review. And also, you're part of the team last cycle that, there was a goal that Panama scored that didn't cross the line that, if that hadn't happened, you guys might have gone to the World Cup anyway. So just curious your take on this switch. Thanks so much.
Yeah. I think bringing in the VAR is going to be good. I think it's helped leagues around the world, and, it'll help international soccer, especially for us, where, there has been games and moments that can be decided based on, a referee's call. So for me, I think it's good, and forget about what's happened in the past, but I think it's a great time to add it in such important games leading into the World Cup. So I'm excited about it.
Next will be Ron Blum from the Associated Press.
Hi, Paul. Thanks for doing this. Looking at the forecast for the 3 games, it's going to be 18 to 25 degrees and chance of snow and wind. Have you ever played competitive soccer in conditions like that? And is there a danger to you guys getting muscle pulls and getting hurt in that? And how do you prepare and get through that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, look, I think the staff, on the national team do a tremendous job, and we have full confidence in them to prepare us. And obviously, we have our own duties as professional players and players on the national team to be as ready as possible for every condition. I've played in some cold weather before, and I think most of the players on this team have. And I think it's an opportunity for us. We're going to embrace it. We're going to be ready. The fans will be there, and regardless of the condition, our goal is to go out there and win and play the best to our ability, no matter what the forecast says.
Next will be Daniel Nora from Univision.
Paul, ¿cómo estás?
Hola, Daniel.
Quiero preguntarte por tu futuro. ¿Qué tan al tanto estás de lo que ha surgido hoy con Dallas y también con Charlotte? ¿Y cómo eso te motiva o quizás te distrae un poco en días tan importantes de la próxima ventana de eliminatorias?
Sí, es obviamente una buena pregunta. Sí, lo que yo pienso, lo que me siento es ya quiero tener mi cabeza libre para los partidos que vienen con la selección. Obviamente ahorita ese es el más importante para mí, ayudar la selección. Obviamente ahorita la situación del club es poquito complicado, pero bueno, la verdad no puedo hacer mucho. Tengo que tener fe en cada club y situación, y ahorita estoy con la selección intentando enfocar en el campamento y lo que viene.
Next will be Jose Umama from WTOP.
Hey, Paul, how are you doing? How with everything going on in terms of your future, what kind of discussions have you had with not just your coaches with DC, but also your coaches with the U.S. men's national team on how to address this situation with your club future? Yeah,
I think, look, it's obviously a complicated one, like I've said. But the best thing that people have done for me is given their advice. No one has put pressure on me to do one thing or the other, which is the beauty of it all. And obviously I can only control so much, and the clubs can control as much as they can as well. So there's a lot of people that have been giving me advice, but really I've just kind of been taking it all in and trying to stay as focused as possible on camp. That's clearly my number one job right now is to be focused here, stay fit, continue to gain confidence on the field, and be ready for the games coming up.
Next will be John Lugo.
Paul, just talk about the atmosphere in the camp, what you've seen so far, what you like, and
What excites you going forward about this team and the group of players that you have there?
Yeah, John, look, it's great. The camp is great, and there's always a great energy when you come into camp. We've kind of come in at this time where club teams start preseason, and it's a really tricky window. Obviously, this window coming up because for us currently in camp, a lot of the MLS guys are coming off the off season, haven't had a lot of time to be with a team. So for us, it's really just kind of trying to get as sharp as possible. Obviously, continue to gain fitness for the games that are coming up, and the energy is great here. The vibes are great. This is a brotherhood. This is a family, and so it's a really enjoyable experience every time.
Next will be Carlos Hernandez.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? Buenas tardes, Carlos Rodrigo Hernández de Fox Sports México. Preguntarte en ese mismo tenor sobre si ahorita hay incertidumbre sobre tu futuro, pero se dice mucho que ya estás en el América de acá de México con las Águilas del América, la afición está pues contenta con la posible llegada. ¿Qué nos puedes decir esto al respecto? ¿Sí vas a estar jugando con el América?
Sí, con todo respeto, no tengo algo, ¿cómo se dice?, concreto ahorita de mi futuro. Obviamente no todo es mi decisión. Si quiero ir a América o no, yo quiero ir a un lugar que me va a ayudar llegar al Mundial, a tener éxito. Y bueno, la verdad no puedo controlar todo. Ahorita sé que los clubes están hablando, pero te digo, ahorita creo que la oportunidad es complicado ahorita por decisión de club y bueno, yo tengo todo el respeto. Yo entiendo que todo esto es un negocio y todo tiene su tiempo. Entonces ahorita estoy muy enfocado en estar acá con la selección, intentando estar fit, estar confiado en la selección y qué estamos haciendo acá. Entonces quedo así.
We are going to excuse Paul, and we'll be right back with Walker Zimmerman.
Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Estás en Fútbol de Cuates. Es momento de una pausa. Ya estamos de regreso. Estás en
Walker, thanks for your time. What going into these three games? Obviously, you're going to be playing in cold weather. What is there an advantage for you guys playing in cold weather? And at the same time, what potential problems does it present for a team like yours?
Well, for one, I'm really excited. You know, I look back at some of my first times watching the men's national team and seeing that game in Colorado against Costa Rica sticks out in my head. And I was even talking to my wife over the break. I was like, man, I want it to be freezing. I want it to be cold. I want it to snow. I want to be a part of something so iconic that I saw and like really remember growing up. Like that's exciting to me. So I think the guys were ready to embrace the cold. And it'll be, you know, a really good environment for us fan-wise as well.
Next will be Doug McIntyre.
I asked all about CONCACAF's announcement that they're going to implement VAR, so I want to ask you that as well. And I also want to ask about Jordan Morris, a guy you played with and again for a long time. You know, where do you see him? You know what he's capable of when he's fully fit and at his best. Where is he right now based on what you've seen? Thanks so much.
Yeah, Jordan's obviously one of my really close friends. Have loved watching his development in Seattle with the team, with the U.S. team. he's looked great. He's looked really fit. He's getting really confident each and every day. And I think he's a guy who's an absolute game changer for us in terms of bringing a different dimension, bringing a different dynamic to the team. And his ability just to get behind the line and cause problems for the opponent is huge. And something that I think we've missed a little bit, and certainly hope that he can have some sort of impact over these next 3 games.
Yeah.
And in terms of VAR, no, look, VAR's had, it's instances where sometimes you still watch the replay and you're like, how do they still call that a certain way? But at the end of the day, I do think that in theory and with how it can be implemented, it can be something that is an equal playing field for both teams. So no problem for us. It shouldn't change anything about how we play or anything like that.
Next will be Charles Bone from MLSsoccer.com.
Hi, Walker. Thanks for speaking today. It's a topic that's been, I'm sure, on your minds, but the challenge for MLS-based players competing for spots against European players for this window, with you guys being in your off-season, match fitness versus, kind of having to come back early. I just wonder what your outlook is, whether you think you can kind of overcome that maybe disadvantage and how the group is looking at it.
Certainly, it's different for domestic-based players versus the guys who are over in Europe right now. As you mentioned, just the rhythm of playing games. But that being said, December camp was important, I think, for a lot of us to just maintain rhythm, continue to have games and training, keep your fitness up, and really only taking 9-10 days off right after that game and then right back into it. And that's been the beauty of this camp is we're not just preparing for some kind of friendly, we're preparing for 3 qualifiers. And so that being said, the staff's done a really good job of making sure that we are fit, that we are gaining fitness. And so we've had scrimmages, had bike workouts in the afternoon to just increase our aerobic fitness. And so it'll be a good test, our final scrimmage against SKC, kind of see where everyone's at, how we're feeling as we edge closer to that 90-minute threshold. And certainly, we feel like we're ready to compete and are prepared for these games.
We'll go to Ron Blum from the Associated Press.
Hi, Walker. I guess it'll be for you 2 months since a competitive match and like 6 weeks since any match, the Bosnia game. How does your body and mind react differently coming off sort of a period like that, even with the training and the workouts? Is it different at all? Do you have to do anything differently to get into the flow of the game?
No, I think, you're right. Just over a month since that Bosnia game, I think that this Friday is a really important opportunity for us to make sure that we're going into that game, full on intensity, full competitive mode. This is our chance to get that rhythm back. So it's hard to answer your question before playing that game, but I think we all feel confident in our ability to make it through 90 minutes and challenge ourselves. And that's going to be the game that's going to help us find our rhythm as we prepare for these next 3.
Next will be Donald Wine.
Hey, Walker. I know you've had experience playing in the turf, but now you're going up to Hamilton on the 30th. Tim Hortons Stadium, as you know, is a turf field. While you guys that are currently in camp, all the Major League Soccer-based players have had experience with turf, much less cold turf. Some of the guys in Europe have not had that. How do you think that's going to adjust your approach as a team when you do face Canada on the 30th? Thanks.
Well, I think each surface obviously plays in different ways, but at the same time, I think the main focus for us is going to be our starting points. It's going to be the intensity, the competitiveness, our ability to come out and dictate how the game is going to go. And I think the turf becomes secondary at that point. It's not a conversation of, be careful about how you play the ball because it might skip up a little bit or it might die a little bit. Sure, some things like that may be mentioned, but it's not going to be the primary focus for our group. It's going to be all about our mentality, our starting points, our tactics, and we're going to go from there. So I think they'll be excited just to be playing, representing their country, and that's going to take precedent over any type of field condition.
Next will be Daniel Norum from Univision.
Hi, Walker. Thank you for your time and doing this. El Salvador, again, it's the beginning of the second leg of the qualifiers. You weren't in that team that went to the Cuscatlán. What can you recall from those first games of the qualifiers? And if you can make a recap of your team, what will be the biggest highlight your remarks about the first leg that you did?
It was certainly an exciting game. It was our first qualifier. I think we learned a lot. We grew as a group. The atmosphere was amazing down in El Salvador, and we certainly had our chances. And I think looking back, it was the game that kind of got us our taste of World Cup qualifying for a lot of players. And so now with 8 games down, we do have more experience, and I'm hoping that, being at home, being able to dictate the play a little bit more, create more opportunities, more goal scoring opportunities, it's going to be a favorable game for us. So we're excited. We know that they're going to bring everything they have. They're in a spot where they kind of have to start winning games. So we're going to be prepared for that and make sure we try and lead there with 3.
Next, we go to Salvador Perez del Fierro.
Hello, Walker. How are you? And nice to see you. It's from goal.com. What do we can from this United whole team on the road of the 22 weekend? Thank you.
Salvador, we have a little difficulty hearing you. Could you try repeating your question?
Yeah. Can you hear me, Walker?
Try again.
Can you hear me?
That's better.
Thank you. Hi, Walker. How are you? It's Albert from Gold.com. Nice to see you. Walker, of the 2021. What do we can expect from the United States national team on this start of the 2022?
I think we're going to be coming out knowing that our objective is to qualify for the World Cup, and that's going to be our one goal. That's what we've been talking about for the past few years. So I think you're going to see a group that's extremely focused, extremely competitive, and a group that hopefully is level-headed and keeping our eyes on that goal and not getting ahead of ourselves, taking it one play at a time, one moment at a time, and then once the whistle blows at the end of the game, we can kind of see where we are and get ready for the next one. But a very focused group, a very determined group, and one that's going to have their eyes set on our main goal, which is qualification.
Next will be John Lupa.
Walker, just talk about, I know it's been a while since the team has played a match, but just in the World Cup matches, qualifying matches so far, and even going back to the Gold Cup a little bit, you guys have had an excellent defensive record. I believe you've only given up something like 4 goals in your last 9 games. You're one of the mainstays in defense. You've been one of the best defenders in MLS for a long time. Well, what do you think has been the key to having so much success, and what can you take from those matches going forward now that you start the second round of qualifying against these teams?
I think it starts with our work ethic and our work rate. And that's not just, I know a lot of times defenders and goalies get credit for a lot of the defensive statistics, but it's a team stat. It starts with how we press up top with our front 3, how we can cover ground in the midfield, and then certainly how we can clean up things and organize the group as a defensive unit. So it starts with the work ethic, and then I think communication is extremely important, especially in these games. One moment can cost you points. And so making sure that you're always communicating, always organized is a really big component, never being switched off. So we've done a good job of maintaining that energy, maintaining concentration, and certainly have had, guys stepping up and making individual plays as well, where, your team needs a play, and whether it's a goalkeeper, a defender, anyone on the field making a play, we've been, able to make some of those plays.
Our last question comes from Mark Keplinger from the Tulane Hullabaloo.
Thank you, Walker, for speaking with us. Obviously, you guys are opening up against El Salvador next week, and last time in the qualifying cycle, you guys drew 0-0. What adjustments are you guys hoping to make to get all 3 points this time?
I think it starts with just creating more opportunities. We did have a few chances down in El Salvador, but this is a game that we're at home. We should be having the majority of possession, majority of chances created, and then certainly another component is going to be set pieces. Extremely disappointing that we haven't had a goal off set pieces yet in these first 8 games, and so that's an area of the game that we feel like we can capitalize on. So more opportunities, more goals, certainly getting on the score sheet and walking away with 3 points.
John, just to your point about goals against, so far in 2022 World Cup qualifying, the U.S. has given up 5 goals in 8 matches total. That's it for Walker, and that's it for us today. Keep an eye out for our notification on the roster announcement for the World Cup qualifying training camp, as well as a conference call with Greg. We hope to have that information for you either later today or first thing tomorrow. Thanks again, and have a good afternoon.
Fútbol de cuates con Sebastián González, Martín Álvarez, Santino Nicoletti, Paulo Guevara, Luis Miguel Iníquez y Fabián Luján. Síguenos en nuestra próxima emisión. Far Sports presentó Fútbol de cuates con Sebastián González, Martín Álvarez, Santino Nicoletti, Paulo Guevara, Luis Miguel Iníquez y Fabián Luján.